I found out my husband was cheating because of a text message. Not because I caught him. Not because someone warned me. And not because he confessed. I found out because of a stupid mistake. A mistake that destroyed my marriage and uncovered secrets I never could have imagined. If someone had told me 6 months ago that my life would end this way, I would have laughed. Back then, I thought I was one of the lucky ones. My name is Sarah. I was 34 years old. I had been married to Ethan for 7 years. We owned a small house in a quiet neighborhood. Every morning we drank coffee together before work. Every Friday we ordered takeout and watched movies. Every Sunday we visited my parents. Our life wasn't perfect, but it felt safe, stable, predictable. The kind of marriage people secretly envy. At least that's what I believed. Looking back now, I realize something important. The biggest lies don't begin with obvious red flags. They begin with trust. And I trusted Ethan completely. The first crack appeared on a Thursday evening. It was raining outside. Ethan was upstairs taking a shower. I was cleaning dishes after dinner. His phone was lying on the kitchen counter. I wasn't paying attention to it until the screen lit up. Normally I would have ignored it. But this time something caught my eye. Heart emoji. Then a preview of the message appeared. My hands froze. The message said, "I can't stop thinking about last night, red heart." I stared at the screen. My brain refused to process the words. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe. But deep down I already knew. Nobody sends messages like that to a married man by accident. The screen went dark. The kitchen suddenly felt silent. Too silent. I could hear water running upstairs. I could hear my own heartbeat. I stood there for almost a minute before picking up the phone. The message was gone. Deleted. My stomach twisted. Because Ethan hadn't even left the bathroom yet. Which meant one thing. The sender had deleted it. Or Ethan regularly deleted messages. Neither option made me feel better. That night I barely slept. Every time Ethan moved beside me, I opened my eyes. Every time he touched me, I wondered who else he touched. By morning I felt exhausted. But I said nothing. Because part of me was terrified of the answer. Over the next week I started noticing things. Little things. Things I should have noticed earlier. Ethan smiling at his phone. Ethan taking calls outside. Ethan suddenly changing passwords. Ethan working late more often. Individually, none of those things meant much. Together, they formed a picture I didn't want to see. One Friday afternoon I left work early. I had a migraine. Or at least that's what I told my boss. The truth was I couldn't stop thinking about that message. I drove home hoping Ethan would still be at work. Instead I found something unexpected. His old tablet. The one he hadn't used in years. It was sitting in a drawer in our office. Out of curiosity I turned it on. And that's when everything changed. The tablet still had access to an old messaging account. Most conversations were deleted. But one contact remained. No name. Just a phone number. Hundreds of messages. Almost all deleted. But not completely. Few fragments survived. And those fragments were enough. I miss you. Wish you were here. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. My hands started shaking. This wasn't innocent. This wasn't friendship. This was an affair. Or at least it looked like one. I should have confronted him. I know that now. But I didn't. Instead, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I decided to text the number. And that decision would change everything. My finger hovered above the keyboard. I should have closed the tablet. I should have walked away. Instead, I typed 3 simple words. Who is this? I meant to send it from Ethan's account. But I wasn't paying attention. My own phone was connected to the tablet. The message went from my number, not his. The second I realized what happened, panic rushed through my body. No, no, no. I tried deleting it. Too late. The message had already been delivered. I held my breath. Then the typing bubble appeared. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3. Finally a response arrived. Wait. Are you his wife? The room started spinning. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it. I stared at those 4 words. Then another message arrived. Oh my God. He told me he was divorced. I sank into a chair. For several seconds I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Couldn't even breathe properly. Divorced. He told her he was divorced. Not separated. Not having problems. Divorced. Completely free. Completely available. Complete lie. The conversation lasted almost 4 hours. Her name was Lily. She was 29. A graphic designer. And according to her, she had been dating Ethan for 11 months. 11 months. Nearly a year. She genuinely believed he was single. She even sent me photographs. Pictures of vacations. Restaurants. Weekend trips. Photos of Ethan smiling at the camera. The same smile he gave me every day. The same smile he used while lying to both of us. At one point Lily stopped texting. Then she sent a voice message. Her voice was shaking. I swear, Sarah, I didn't know about you. If I had known, I never would have done this. For some reason I believed her. Maybe because she sounded just as devastated as I felt. Over the next few days we continued talking. First it felt strange. Then it became something neither of us expected. We became allies. Not friends. Not yet. But allies. 2 women trying to understand the same man. One evening Lily sent me screenshots of dozens of conversations. Promises. Love notes. Plans for the future. And then I saw something that made my stomach turn. A message from Ethan. I can't wait for us to start our life together. The message had been sent only 3 weeks earlier. 3 weeks. While he was sleeping beside me every night. I wanted to confront him immediately. But Lily stopped me. Not yet. Why not? Because I think there's more. First I thought she was wrong. Then strange things started happening. I discovered hotel charges on Ethan's credit card. Restaurants I had never visited. Flowers delivered to addresses I didn't recognize. And then something even stranger. Payment every month. Always the same amount. Always to the same account. For almost 2 years. What is this? Lily asked during one of our calls. I don't know. But I intended to find out. A week later I followed Ethan. The entire drive my hands were shaking. Part of me still hoped I was wrong. Part of me hoped none of this was real. But when Ethan pulled into a parking lot downtown, my hope disappeared. 'Cause someone was waiting for him. Woman. Dark hair. Red coat. She walked straight toward him. And hugged him. Not like a friend. Not like a coworker. Like someone who knew him intimately. Felt sick. Lily was right. There was more. Much more. That night I sent her a photograph. The picture I had taken from my car. A few minutes later my phone rang. Lily sounded pale. That's not me. Froze. What? Sarah. That's not me. For a moment neither of us spoke. Because we both understood exactly what that meant. There wasn't one affair. There were 2. Or so we thought. For the next several days we investigated together. We compared dates, messages, locations, credit card records, everything. The deeper we dug, the worse it became. The woman in the red coat wasn't new. She had been seeing Ethan for months. Maybe longer. Then came the biggest shock. One Sunday morning, Lily called me crying. Not sad crying. Terrified crying. I had never heard anything like it. Lily. She could barely speak. Sarah. What happened? Silence. Then. I'm pregnant. The words hit me like a truck. Pregnant. I sat down immediately. Everything around me felt distant. Unreal. This wasn't just cheating anymore. This was a life. Child. Future. Everything was becoming bigger than either of us imagined. A few days later, Lily showed me an engagement ring. My heart nearly stopped. Ethan had proposed to her 3 months earlier, while still married to me. I thought I had finally uncovered every secret. I was wrong. Very wrong. Because the woman in the red coat wasn't his girlfriend. She wasn't his mistress. And she wasn't his lover. She was a private investigator. Someone Ethan had hired. Someone who had been watching both Lily and me. And when we finally confronted her, the truth she revealed was worse than any affair. Much worse. Because Ethan wasn't just cheating. He had been running a romance scam for years. Using different identities. Different stories. Different women. Borrowing money. Making promises. Disappearing. Starting over. Again and again. And somehow, I had become his biggest victim. For several seconds I couldn't speak. I just stared at the woman in the red coat. Private investigator. None of this made sense anymore. Lily looked just as confused. What are you talking about? She asked. The woman took a deep breath. My name is Rebecca. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. Thick folder. Filled with documents. Photos. Bank records. Addresses. Evidence. Lots of evidence. Then she looked directly at me. Sarah, Ethan isn't who you think he is. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her she was wrong. But after everything I discovered, I couldn't. Rebecca opened the folder. The first photograph made my stomach drop. It was Ethan. Standing beside another woman. A woman neither Lily nor I recognized. Then another photo. Another woman. Then another. And another. And another. There were at least 10. Maybe more. Each picture showed Ethan with a different woman. Different cities. Different years. Different identities. My hands started shaking. What is this? Rebecca sighed. For the last 3 years I've been working with a group of women who were financially manipulated by the same man. She pointed at Ethan's photograph. Your husband. The room felt silent. Too silent. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't process what she was saying. He told each woman a different story. Rebecca continued. Sometimes he was a businessman. Sometimes he was a widower. Sometimes he was recently divorced. He created whatever identity he needed. Lily looked horrified. Why? Rebecca answered immediately. Money. Apparently Ethan never asked for large amounts. That was what made him successful. He asked for small favors. Small loans. Emergency help. Temporary financial support. Nothing that seemed suspicious. Nothing that sounded like a scam. Over time those small amounts became thousands. Then tens of thousands. And by the time the women realized what had happened, he was gone. Felt sick. Because suddenly I remembered things. Little things. Tiny details I had ignored. Money disappearing from our savings. Strange transfers. Unexplained purchases. Excuses. Always excuses. Then Rebecca said something that shocked me. Sarah. He used your marriage to make himself look trustworthy. My stomach dropped. What? Women trusted him because he appeared happily married. I couldn't believe it. My marriage wasn't just a lie. It had been part of the scam. That night I didn't go home. Neither did Lily. Instead, we spent hours reviewing evidence. The deeper we looked, the worse it became. There weren't 10 women. There were 17. 17. Some had lost money. Some had lost years of their lives. One woman had nearly lost her house. Another had emptied her retirement account. And every story ended the same way. Ethan disappeared. Barely slept. The next morning I made a decision. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to beg for answers. I wasn't going to confront him privately. I was going to end this. Once and for all. 3 weeks later, everything was ready. Rebecca had contacted the authorities. Several women agreed to testify. The evidence was overwhelming. There was only one thing left to do. Get Ethan into one room. And that's exactly what we did. Ethan believed he was meeting a potential business investor. That's what Rebecca told him. He arrived right on time. Confident. Smiling. Completely unaware. I'll never forget the moment he walked inside. The smile disappeared instantly. Because sitting around the table were women from his past. One after another. Faces he thought he'd never see again. Women he had lied to. Manipulated. Abandoned. Then he saw me. Then Lily. And finally Rebecca. The color drained from his face. For the first time since I'd known him, he looked afraid. Truly afraid. "Sarah," he whispered. I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. The police entered a few minutes later. Everything happened quickly. Questions. Documents. Handcuffs. Shouting. Denials. Excuses. Lies. The same lies he'd always told. But this time nobody believed him. As officers escorted him out, he turned toward me. For a moment he looked exactly like the man I married. The man I once loved. The man I thought I knew. Then he said, "I did love you." I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time, felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. No love. Nothing. 'Cause I finally understood something. You can't love someone while building your life on lies. Whatever Ethan felt, it wasn't love. 6 months later, my divorce was finalized. Lily gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Rebecca helped several more victims come forward. Me. I started over. Sometimes people ask if I regret finding that first message. The one that started everything. The one that destroyed my marriage. The answer always surprises them. Well, I don't regret it. Because that message didn't destroy my life. It revealed the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts before it heals. A year later, I was sitting in a small cafe reading a book when my phone buzzed. It was a photograph from Lily. Her daughter was smiling at the camera. Underneath the picture was a message. "Thank you for sending that text." I laughed. 'Cause she was right. One accidental message had changed everything. If I had never sent it, I might still be living inside a lie. Instead, I found the truth. And eventually, found myself. The end.